Okay. I don't know how many teachers have read this. I'd like to give you a minute to read this. So I'll be quiet. Step one is always start from the beginning, start to finish, read it without any miscues. Can everyone do that now? So you're reading it like this. Gabby walked quickly across the back field. Bright morning light glinted in the wet grass. Every few steps, Gabby almost broke into a run and then stopped herself. She turned back and saw her mother and Andy dawdling way behind her. They were moving so slowly. Can everyone try that now on your own? Tell me when you're done. So some teachers do this all the time, and some teachers are very, very new. I want you always, when you're doing these assessments, I want you to take 1 minute, and I just want you to read it to yourself. Thumbs up? With no mistakes. Now, here's my question. Is it a narrative text or an expository? Is it a story, narrative, or expository? It's a narrative text. Jessica says a narrative text. Everyone agree? Is that hard to spot? So then when we start to write our essay, we want to make sure that we include that, and we can mention that, in the narrative text. Sometimes they give you the author. Recently, I've noticed that they've sort of stripped out the author, but if they give you the author in the story, you can put it in your essay. It looks something like this. Jayden, the third grade student, shows both strengths and in foundations and areas of need and foundations of reading skills during his oral reading of the unfamiliar narrative text, blah, 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 by this author. But sometimes, recently, they've been stripping them out. This one, they actually don't include an author or a title of the book. So you just call this a narrative text. Okay, step two, we got to go and step 2 and 3, we're going to go. Step 2 is we start to sort for weaknesses. And step 3, we start to sort for strengths. So let's start with step 2. I'm going to circle some words, and I want you to tell me if you see a pattern with these words here. What do you see going on with bright, high, and right? What's going on there? Can you name it? What's up with these words bright, high, and right? Oops, I messed that one up. So they all have that IGH, right? And let's get the bright, right. So we could say that there's an issue with phonics, specifically with that trigraph, IGH, right? Who's kind of spotted that right away? I mean, because you don't see that trigraph a whole lot. So for me, I always look for phonics first. That kind of sticks out as a great opportunity to talk about a phonics, specifically with a weakness in a trigraph, IGH. Thumbs up? But this one has a lot more. What else do you see? Like, what's going on here? Who spotted these ones right here? The dropping of the EG, the LY, the LY, the E. I mean, the difficulty there with these ones here. Oh, it happened a lot. Yikes. There's a short. How would you define that one? The difficulty with the ending ED and LY. We had a challenge. We had a debate at GOHacademy on what was going on with that S, because they're pronouncing it with an S throughout the whole thing. So we thought it came down to having difficulty with the morpheme, and having difficulty with the pronunciation of the morpheme. So it could fall under structural word analysis involving morphemes, or this could be like morphemic analysis. Who sees all those examples? That is a ton of weakness there, right? Got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm sure there's more. Okay, there's one more major one. What else do you see? What's the other major one? Can you spot it? There's others here, but there's one that really stuck out for me. What's going on with these words here? All these words. Who feels like those are pretty high frequency words? High frequency words, and I would say they're sight words too, right? Definitely my and so, and I think move and together. I think these are, and toward. I think these are. There's a lot of high frequency sight words that this student should have under their belt. Even these other words that they're getting wrong are high frequency. But I feel like there's I think that, you know, student misses, these are pop words. Who teaches kindergarten in the group? Anyone teach kindergarten? Are there any kindergarten teachers? Michaela, in terms of your pop word vocabulary, so my, aren't these like the first ones? These are big, yes. So these would definitely be considered, there would be a weakness in high frequency vocabulary, specifically with some irregular high frequency words. Okay, these are all the things, a lot more is going on, but these are 3 things we could talk about. Here's why I would choose this one. I know, I'm going to clear this off. Well, first of all, I don't think anyone would do this. Who does it like this? Who makes the list like this? You don't have time to do this on the day of the test. But you could do this at home when you're studying. You could just make, here's some stuff here. And then you'd be like, oh, there's an issue with phonics going on with IGH, right? But here's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. And this has to do with the suffixes, right? ED and LY. Here's some high frequency words that I noticed. You could do this like on your own, or you could do something like this. Everyone could do something like this. Do you have a sheet of paper you can use on the day of the test? Do they give you that? Tiffany says yes. Anyone else? If you go to the test site, they give you a whiteboard, right? So I think on the whiteboard, like left is frowny town, right is smiley face. This is something you could do. So this would be like step 2, sort the bad. Step 3, identify what they did right. I just want to stick with the sorting for a moment. In doing these, you can choose what you want to write about. But here's why I would talk about phonics. They give you 3 high-profile words, bright, high, and right. And they self-correct these high-profile words. Do you see that? And they do that all with semantic context clues. So here, how do they self-correct the word? What's the semantic clue for bright? What's the clue? So the student says brig, doesn't make sense. Morning light. This is that context clue or semantic. What's semantic context clue mean? What's that mean again? It's that surrounding word in the sentence that helps you make sense of a miscue. Brig morning light doesn't make sense. We look for a surrounding word. Morning light, oh, bright morning light. So that's a semantic context clue. You see that here as well. Self-corrected this one here. She leaped hig in the air. Oh, she leaped high. What would you do? You'd leap in the air. You'd leap high in the air. So leaped and high are semantic context clues. I think those are good ones. How about this one? She landed with the thumb right where they stood. Maybe. Or I don't know. Is there another? Maybe this one. Move. I can't move like you. I can't move like you. I don't know. Definitely the brig, the bright, the morning light, and the high in the air. So I wrote those down here. I thought that there was enough here you know, the morning light into the air, possibly that one right there, that could make a case for semantic context clues. Who thinks they're gonna, on the day of the test, do it like this, or who's gonna do it like this? Which one? The Foursquare? Tell me, type in Foursquare or list. So I like this one here. Everyone can do it if you had a couple minutes. But this could be an opportunity to talk about phonics as a weakness, and we have our A, our B, and our C. And we're talking specifically about the trigraph, this one here. And here we could identify specific phrases, semantic context clues that help us get these. So we could use those phrases to explain how they self-corrected these. That would be a very clear essay. You could obviously talk about this one here, but that's a little harder. You could talk about this one here too, but that might be a little harder as well. So you decide what you want to do. All right, everyone have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Hi team, this is Chris Abraham from GOHacademy. This spring, GOHacademy is turning all the workshops into webinars. These classes are going to be covering the same material as a regular workshop. We're going to do them in 7 hours, and they're held on Saturdays and Sundays in the morning. I encourage you to check out a webinar. I'm sure you'll find them very helpful.